Hey girlfriends, welcome back to the Girl Your Magic podcast. It's time to ditch the nice girl era and step into your villain era. In today's episode, we're talking about how to go from being the nice girl to dream girl and how to go from doormat to confident. So let's dive in. So, have you ever felt like you've had a use me sign on your forehead for the longest time? Like, it feels as though people around you tend to walk all over you, and you may be the nicest person, the sweetest person, the kindest person ever, but people don't appreciate your kindness. In fact, they tend to see it as a weakness. I'm here to tell you that this is a sign to enter your villain era. And I'm going to talk about that in this video. So stay tuned. No matter how kind, how nice you are to people, how available, how agreeable you are to people, it feels as though you are the doormat, the invisible girl, the one that's never chosen, the one that's never loved, the one that's never given attention, right? So yeah, it feels like nobody respects people who are nice. And I'm being very specific about kindness and niceness. There's a big difference between the two. Kindness is a more selfless act, and niceness is doing something with the hopes that this person would like you or people would like you, you know. So it's manipulative, even though it's not intentional. It is manipulative. And so, yeah, if you've ever felt like you've had a use me sign on your forehead, you understand what I'm talking about. You feel as though no amount of niceness would give you the validation that you want from other people. In fact, it pushes people away from you. It does the complete opposite. The only people that I found that expect you to be nice at all times are people who are narcissists and people who are manipulative and controlling. You want to be as authentic as possible so that you can attract equally authentic people. So why is it called the villain era? It's called the villain era because obviously if people around you, like your friends, your co-workers and your family members are used to you behaving a certain way and people pleasing, and then you all of a sudden decide to change and switch to somebody else who has boundaries, who's willing to stand up for themselves, then they are going to paint you as a villain because the person that you're portraying to them is very different from what they expect of you. And you should know that your family, society, your friends, your co-workers, your boss expects a certain version of you. And the moment you start to change, the moment you start to deviate from that version that people have created in their minds, the moment people will paint you as a villain. I know the term villain sounds like a bad term, but it's a good thing to be a villain because you are somebody that isn't afraid to accept your darkness. It's accepting your shadow self. If you're into shadow work, you understand what I'm talking about. It's okay to be different. It's okay to go against the norm. It's okay to stand up for yourself. It's okay to not always be agreeable and a yes man. And a lot of villains are like that. There are so many scenarios where you didn't get the chance to be a villain, but I'm telling you right now, I'm giving you permission that it's okay. When somebody calls you past a certain time and they expect you to meet up very last minute and you're not in a space to do that, then it's okay to say no. It's okay to say no when you are not ready to do anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. It's okay to say no to the people who ghost you and then come back from the dead. It's okay to say no to flaky people. It's okay to say no to somebody asking you for money if you don't have any and if you don't want to give any. It's okay to say no to when somebody disrespects you. It's okay. Like, normalize being let's normalize not being the bigger person. We don't have to overextend ourselves when we've been disrespected. So these are things that I think is okay. You have to hold yourself accountable. Like, how are you allowing people to walk all over you and to treat you like shit? Like, it's time to say no. It's time to say no. And no is a complete sentence. And also, like, let's normalize not being around people could you imagine that there's some people, they will go out with people that they don't like. They will be around people that they don't like. That's something that I completely do not understand. I would rather you like be yourself. I would rather you just say no. If you don't want to see somebody, if you don't want to meet up with somebody, if you don't want to be around somebody, you honestly do not. So yeah, this is your sign to enter your villain era. I started to take myself very, very seriously when it didn't matter how much kindness or how nice I was to people. It never mattered because people in nature are selfish. So the more you give them, the more they expect from you. And in fact, some people are so selfish that they forget what you've done and how far that you're willing to go for them. They've forgotten like the extent of your kindness or your niceness. As I said before, there's a difference between the two. And I remember like wanting to fit in with a certain crowd and doing everything that I could to be kind, to be nice, and to be accepted. Like, even changing my personality and things that I wouldn't necessarily do or like, and just to please people. And I think there's more reward in being yourself, because when you're yourself, the right people gravitate towards you and you are happier. There's peace of mind. There's more time as well to do the things that you actually care about. Because could you imagine somebody inviting you to do something and you're not really feeling either the event or that person or the people that they surround themselves with, and then you allow yourself to go to that event, and then you realize that actually this is not my crowd and this is not what I like. And you could look at it in certain angles as well, even with family, especially now that we're going into Christmas and the New Year's and we'll be spending a lot of time with family. There are some family members that are very difficult and they hate boundaries because it's almost like giving yourself an identity. And some people don't like it when you have an identity that's different from theirs. And even just speaking up for yourself and saying, no, I do not want to do this, I want to do something else, can make people feel like you're a villain, and they can label you as a villain. And it's up to you to decide whether you want to people please all your life and the rewards that you're getting. Because one thing I noticed about people pleasing is it's a very unattractive trait. It doesn't attract people to you, which is something that is counterproductive, because obviously the whole point of people pleasing in the first place is to get people to like you and to get people to think that you're cool, right? But the years that I've spent people pleasing, I realized that it made me uninteresting because I didn't have a personality aside from what other people liked. I wanted to fit in so bad that I lost myself. And I think that is the biggest thing that I want you to take out of this. You have to be a villain so you don't lose yourself. It's okay to be a villain. Like, one of my favorite villains of all time is Cruella. She's badass. She's like, her fashion statement is incredible. I'm very much into fashion, if you know me. And not even just that, like the backstory and how her mother died and she found out and she blamed herself for so long. And then she found out that the person that killed her mom was her actual mom. And of course, if you've watched Cruella, you understand what I'm saying. So I would say she's a good villain. I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but if you watched Cruella, you would understand that after everything that the Baroness did and she found out, then she thought that the only way to seek revenge was to dethrone her from her fashion empire. Watching that movie, it like gave me a whole different perspective on the word villain, because if you watched the Cruella cartoons, you would know that you would see Cruella de Vil as an actual villain, someone who is a bad person. And I think that a villain isn't necessarily somebody that is bad. A villain shows you both sides of one person, and no one is either good or bad, right? A villain shows that we can accept the dark sides of ourselves as well, and it's okay to be a villain in other people's eyes. It's okay to also be an angel in other people's eyes. I don't like to put myself in a box. I don't think that human beings are just one-dimensional. I think that we are multi-dimensional, and it's not okay to think that you should be agreeable and you should be a good person at all times. And people will think that just because you don't agree with them and you stand up for yourself and you say no and you're not always available, people will think that you are a villain. Some people would, and some people would respect you for it as well, and some people would actually want to get closer to you. I think that setting boundaries is a way to get people to get closer to you. So honestly, the best thing that I've ever done was to stop being a people pleaser and to stop silencing my voice. And the moment that I started to use my voice to say no, to speak my mind, even in a room filled with people who had complete different opinions from me, that was when I realized that my friends were not even my friends. That was when I realized that I was in spaces that I had no business being in. And it's honestly the best thing that you can do for yourself. So you're not a doormat, you're not a people pleaser. Setting the boundaries, embracing your villain era. This is how to get into your dark feminine. This is how to work on your shadows. And when I say shadows, I mean the dark sides of yourself that you do not want people to know. So some people are so allergic to being called a villain. They want to be seen as good. They have suppressed the dark side of themselves so that people do not see them for exactly as they are, so that people do not paint them as dark. But as humans, like I said, it's okay to have two sides to you. It's okay to be multi-dimensional. And it's okay to set some boundaries, right? So thank you so much for watching this video. I can't wait to hear from you. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on what you think. I left a comment in the community section of the YouTube channel. So let me know what you want me to talk on next. So I'm going to love you and leave you. Bye-bye. Love you. Mwah.